Hello and welcome to Hammers Chat, everyone. Right, let's just get straight into the news, shall we? This is currently going around Twitter. West Ham could make a move to sign West Brom goalkeeper Sam Johnstone for around 7.5 million this summer. That's coming courtesy of The Athletic. Many places are tweeting about it. You're seeing West Ham News, Central, Transfers, all they're tweeting about it, right? I've dug into this story a little bit, just to give you a little bit more bonus info, a little bit more than just that tweet suggests, and then we can all decide together whether or not we think it's a good idea. But first, hey, if you're new around here, subscribe, drop a like on the video, it really helps us out. Patreon.com/HammersChat, another way to help us out. Get involved, we'd love to have you. I'd love to have you. I do a show on there where you can be a guest. Let me know if you want to be a guest. Come get involved. We would love to have you. Patreon.com/HammersChat. The earlier in the month you do it, the more bang for your buck you get. Now, let's talk about Sam Johnstone, shall we? Here is the story. He wants Premier League football. He obviously plays for West Brom. He's doing an incredible job there. He's done so well that despite being a relegation candidate goalkeeper, he's managed to force his way into the England squad. He wants to stay in the Premier League. Of course he does. He spent all this time out on loan at random places, and he's finally managed to get himself being a first-choice goalkeeper. What was that? Pardon me. A first-choice goalkeeper in the Premier League. He's obviously going to want to stay. He has 1 year left on his contract, and West Brom are saying that they're willing to let him go if they go down, because they can't promise in Premier League football, can they? They're in a championship. That's how that works. The figure being banded around, it's not just 7.5. They're saying in the region of 7.5 to 10 million. That's the figure that's being banded around. Now, a couple of clubs have been linked. We obviously have been. That's why it's going around on Twitter. Leeds have been, although that would be an interesting one because they obviously have Meslier, who's very good. I can never pronounce his name. Correct me. Feel free to correct me whenever it's on the watch along. I always get told I'm wrong. Meslier, you know who I mean. And Tottenham are the other club being linked. The other big name club being linked. Tottenham, you've got Lloris, who is being linked very heavily with PSG. Gazaniga's been said to probably be leaving. They're looking at a goalkeeper. They're said to have looked at all of England's goalkeepers as potential signings. So there's some competition there. So when, again, the 7.5 figure is getting banded around, not only is it 7.5 to 10 million, which was the actual figure that was being reported, but there's also a competition, which you would imagine would push it higher. Now, again, if he managed to get into that England squad, you would imagine West Brom would have a bit more bargaining power to push that a little bit further. Now, I don't think he will. I think he'll end up being Pope, Henson and Pickford. So I don't think he will get in, but with a year left on the contract, you can see why West Brom would be keen to at least get some money for him, because they've not really got much of an option if they go down. Now, as always happens in these situations, X has got involved. Well, I say he's got involved. Someone asked him a question about whether or not these reports are true. X said that he believes that other positions are currently the priority, and whether or not we move for a keeper at this stage is still probably undecided. Positions being the priority, striker, midfield is what X is saying. Should we move for Sam Johnstone? Again, I want your opinions on this. I believe that we need to sort out the goalkeeper situation either now or next summer. There's one or the other. We can't sit here and wait for it. We can't sit here and be like, oh, well, we have Fabianski. Because the reality of this, right? Reality is this. Let's break it down. Fabianski has a year left on his contract. In the summer, he will have 1 year left on his contract. It comes up in 2022. Darren Randolph comes up in 2023. David Martins ends this summer. I believe he hasn't signed a new contract yet. So that means this summer. And then we have sort of Nathan Trott flowing around in the background. They're all aging keepers. Apart from Nathan Trott, our senior keepers are all aging keepers. None of them are going to be long-term options for us. We need to sort that out. We need to find a first-choice, consistent goalkeeper either now for the summer or next summer. That's it. We can't push it any further than that. By that point, Fabianski is going to be 36, 37. David Martin's probably going to have retired. Darren Randolph will be 35 or something like that. We have to sort it out sooner rather than later. I understand what X is saying about other positions being a priority. You're looking at, say, striker. You're looking at central midfield. We've seen that with Noble coming in now. Our depth there is very little. We know up front is a problem because the second Antonio got injured, we didn't even look to our youth player. We looked to Jared Bowen to go up front. He scored. I can't complain. But this gives us some sort of food for thought. You're looking at Nathan Trott, for example, who could be an option to come in as either first choice or second choice goalkeeper. You have to ask yourself, would you be comfortable with Nathan Trott being first choice. Because even if he comes in as backup, second choice, all it takes is a single injury, like we've seen with Mark Noble, and all of a sudden you're thrust into the spotlight. Especially if we've got European football, would you be confident with a kid who's had a little bit of senior football at Wimbledon being the first choice? Now, at Wimbledon, it apparently went very well for him, but I think we tend to forget how important senior football is. And he's not played much. He really has not played enough. For his age, he's at 22 at this point. He's not played enough senior football, in my opinion. I mean, we forget because Rice came straight into the squad, no loaned out. He did amazingly. And we tend to think about everyone like Rice. That's just not the case, you know. Michael Carrick, Rio Ferdinand, Frank Lampard, Glenn Johnson, Mark Noble, James Tompkins. These are all people who went out on loan before coming in and getting significant game time before being a first choice squad player. I wouldn't be comfortable with Nathan Trott being second choice because I wouldn't be comfortable with him being first choice. Doubly so if we're in Europe. That means we need to figure out if Randolph and Fabianski are our first choice next season, fine. I can kind of deal with that. It doesn't fill me with confidence. It doesn't fill me with hope with Randolph specifically. Fabianski I'm more than happy with. And actually, if you're comparing Sam Johnstone to Fabianski for first choice position, which if we're going to actually try and sign him, you want to do, I personally think Fabianski is a little bit better than Sam Johnstone. I would prefer, if FA Cup final day, who's the name you're writing down on a team sheet, it would be Fabianski over Sam Johnstone. But he's aging. We've seen him get a couple of injuries. It's not a long-term option. Sam Johnstone would be that at 28. 7.5 million for a guy who could be your first choice for the next 5-6 years. That's a pretty decent deal. That's a pretty decent deal and something we at least have to consider, especially if that competition falls away, because we're probably a better prospect to play for than Leeds, especially if we're pushing for European football and we get European football. He's probably going to want to join us over Leeds. Tottenham, it's a weird one. Will he start there? Will he? Won't he? I don't know. It's a difficult one whether you would say you choose Tottenham or us, given the fact we'll probably finish higher than them. But they are Tottenham Hotspur compared to us. It's a difficult give and take there. And you have to ask yourself, would Johnston be happy fighting for first choice with Fabianski? Because that's realistically what would happen. I don't think Fabianski is going to leave this summer. Johnson will probably move this summer. So that means if he joined us, who would you put first choice? Would you put Fabianski? Would you put Johnston? As much as we can all have our opinions, you couldn't say for certain which one would be far and ahead the leader. And would either of those people be happy not being guaranteed first choice? Especially Johnston, who at this stage again has fought and tooth and nail to get to a stage where he can be a first choice Premier League goalkeeper, especially for someone like Johnston who has to fight tooth and nail if he's going to try and get a consistent spot in the England squad up against the likes of Pope, Pickford and Henderson. He needs to be getting first team football every single week in the Premier League for that. And we probably couldn't guarantee that. And we know for a fact David Moyes won't guarantee that because that's what he does. When he says these things to these players, he always tells them, you're not guaranteed, you're going to have to come in and fight for your spot. Now, whether or not you think that's a good thing, in this case, it might put Johnston off. It might put Johnston off. Would I be happy seeing Sam Johnstone come in for 7.5 million? Yes, I would. Is it something we need to make happen this summer? Potentially. Are there better options? Potentially. But I want to know what you think. I want to know what you think because, to be honest with you, as you can probably tell, I'm a little bit undecided this way or that. Now you have the full info, the full rundown of the situation. What's your opinion? Should we sign Should we sign Sam Johnstone for 7.5 million from West Brom? Should we look for a different goalkeeper? Is Fabianski all right for another season? Give me your opinions in the description below. Hey, in the comments below. Hey, maybe you like Nathan Trott. Maybe you think Nathan Trott's the guy. And if you want to say that out loud, you could come on my podcast, Two Spanners, One Hammer, the Hammers Chat Patreon exclusive podcast made just for you. You can come on that. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/Hammers Chat. Links below. The earlier in the month you do it, the more bang for your buck you get. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I believe the preview will be up tomorrow, maybe? I think it's tomorrow. I can't remember. Gio did tell me earlier, and I wasn't listening. So I can't promise you there will be another video tomorrow. Of course, there'll be videos on the forum channel. Go subscribe to that. If you haven't already, subscribe if you're new around here. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. And yeah, come on, you irons. See you next time. Cheers, everyone.